Have you ever wondered what it would feel like to walk across a moon where no one has ever stepped, where the silence is older than memory itself? Imagine a world where each grain of dust has not been touched for millions of years, where the horizon curves softly and the stars crown the sky like ancient guardians. Tonight, I invite you to relax, to breathe slowly, and to follow my voice into the slow, silver drift of forgotten moons. Leave behind the noise of your world for a little while. Let your heartbeat match the soft pulse of space as we begin this journey together. Beneath a canvas stretched thick with distant stars, the surface of the first forgotten moon stretches outward like a frozen sea. Its dust is so fine it clings to itself, floating gently with every imagined breath. You step lightly, your boots pressing delicate impressions into the grey powder, each one a soft echo of your existence in this quiet world. The low gravity holds you in a slow dance, every movement made graceful by the lightness of your own body. The air inside your suit is all you hear, a tender whisper, the sound of your own life continuing amidst the endless quiet. The sky above is ink black, but alive with countless pinpricks of light, each one a silent witness to your lonely, beautiful passage. With every step, the universe seems to grow more vast, more open, and the burdens of earthly worries grow smaller and smaller until they are nothing at all. You wander across gentle hills where ancient meteor scars sink into soft valleys, and the horizon trembles with ghostly mountains that seem made of smoke and dreams. Here there are no sounds but those you carry within yourself. The gentle thrum of your heartbeat, the faint rush of your breathing, and the far-off memory of music you once loved. It is easy to forget time in such a place. Minutes melt into hours, and hours into a slow eternity. You become part of the moon's silence, your thoughts as weightless as the dust around you. In the distance, a solitary boulder stands half buried like an ancient monument, worn down by 1,000,000 years of solitude. You drift toward it, not because you must, but because something within you understands. Here, movement is meaning, and stillness is a kind of prayer. And so the journey begins, across one forgotten moon, and many more still waiting in the endless dark. When you walk across a forgotten moon, do you ever feel the presence of those who might have drifted here long before you? Beings whose footprints were swallowed by the dust long before memory itself was born. As you listen to my voice, let your mind loosen its grip on solid things. Let it float, unanchored, into the dim places between stars, into the old corridors of ancient moons, where only silence keeps the records. Close your eyes, if you wish, and feel yourself moving deeper into the dream. Each breath you take slows the world further, and soon there will be only the silver dust, the black sky, and the endless wonder of what once was, and what still lingers unseen. You leave the solitary boulder behind and move toward a cluster of ghostly arches that rise from the surface like the ribs of some forgotten colossus. They shimmer faintly under the pale starlight, structures of rock or ice or something far stranger, half dissolved by time and micrometeor showers. Their shapes are not symmetrical, they twist and lean in ways that defy the architecture of natural erosion. As you pass beneath them, you feel the sensation of entering a sacred place, a quiet cathedral of the void. Dust sifts gently from their highest curves, forming soft veils that drift down in slow-motion curtains. You pause here, listening to nothing, and yet you almost think you can hear a tone, a low and endless vibration that hums beneath the bones of the moon itself. Not sound, Not exactly, more a feeling, a resonance that brushes the inside of your chest and ripples through your fingers as you rest them on the ancient stone. You close your eyes, and for a moment it feels as though the arches are whispering to you in a language older than thought. Beyond the arches, the land stretches out in all directions, folding into low craters and fields of broken rock. Here and there, you spot glimmers of strange minerals, crystalline formations that catch the faint light and scatter it like fragments of shattered stars. The ground slopes downward, leading you into a vast basin that cradles a frozen lake of dust. It is perfectly smooth, untouched by anything but the silent fall of centuries. Walking along its edge, you glimpse reflections that should not be. Blurred images of towering structures, distant fires, moving figures that vanish the moment you try to focus on them. You realize that the dust itself is so fine, so perfectly flat, that it acts as a mirror for your wandering thoughts, painting the landscape with memories and imaginings. In this place, it becomes hard to tell where your mind ends and the moon begins. You are not just a visitor anymore, you are slowly being woven into the quiet story the moon tells itself, a story written in dust and light, and dreams half remembered. And so with each slow step, you drift further, drawn deeper into the forgotten realms of lunar silence. And the journey has only just begun. Have you ever wondered if moons themselves can dream? If the dust and stone might hold on to echoes of ancient memories, shifting them slowly across the eons like forgotten lullabies? Tonight, let your mind drift even deeper. Feel the warmth of your body wrapped safely in the cold cradle of the stars. Listen to my voice, steady and calm, as we journey beyond the arches and descend into a valley where even the shadows seem to slumber. Here, every sound is muffled by the endless dust. Even your thoughts grow soft at the edges, as though the air itself were thick with sleep. Close your eyes if you like, and imagine each step you take leaves a shimmering trail behind you, like the wake of a ship crossing a midnight sea. In this forgotten place, we will walk slowly, unhurried, as though time itself has decided to rest. The descent into the valley is gentle at first. The ridgeline behind you becomes a silver knife, slicing the dark sky, and the ground ahead roll. In soft, somber waves, each footfall lifts little clouds of dust that float alongside you like patient companions. There is no hurry here. The moon has waited 1,000,000 years for your arrival and will wait 1,000,000 more after you leave. As you move lower, the stars seem to draw closer, no longer far-off lanterns but silent witnesses hovering just beyond reach. Here and there, strange formations rise from the surface, skeletal trees of mineral deposits, frozen geysers that once, perhaps, burst into the void before falling still forever. You reach out to touch one, and it crumbles at your fingertips, returning to dust without a sound. In this place, even the strongest structures are surrendered to time. The air inside your helmet hums with the sound of your breathing, and you feel your own smallness, your own precious fragility, set against the vast, patient endurance of stone and silence. In the distance, a pale mist seems to hang just above the valley floor, though you know it cannot be true mist. It is simply the dance of light on countless particles of ancient dust, stirred by the invisible breath of the moon itself. As you reach the valley floor, the landscape opens before you like a dreamscape. The ground is pockmarked with shallow craters, each one filled with a deeper darkness, as though they were windows into some deeper, unseen world. Shadows pool in these craters, and the dim light of the stars skims over them without quite touching their depths. You walk carefully among them, feeling an almost reverent awe, as though disturbing the stillness here might awaken something older than memory. In one of the larger craters, you see what looks like the remnants of an ancient impact site. Shards of dark glass scattered like broken mirrors, catching the faint light and splintering it into spectral halos. As you approach, you realize these are not ordinary shards. Each one seems to hold within it a frozen image, fleeting, barely formed. Visions of strange landscapes, unfamiliar moons, forgotten faces. You kneel and pick up one of the fragments. It is smooth and cold against your glove, and for an instant you feel a pull, a thread of connection, as if this shard remembers something you have forgotten. You return it gently to its resting place and rise, your own reflection slipping away into the greater silence. The valley stretches onward, promising more mysteries, more forgotten dreams sleeping in the dust. With a slow, steady breath, you continue your walk, carrying with you the quiet knowledge that you are not truly alone here. The moon remembers, even when the universe itself has forgotten. And so we walk deeper, letting the slow drift of ancient dust and silent echoes carry us forward into the endless night. Have you ever considered that life, in some secret and quiet form, might still persist in the most barren corners of the cosmos? That perhaps even a forgotten moon, wrapped in dust and ancient silence, could cradle memories of vitality that refuse to completely fade. Tonight, as you listen to my voice and let yourself drift even deeper into this slow journey, imagine a garden unlike any you have ever known. A hidden place where the remnants of old life whisper through the stones, unseen but undeniable. Feel your body relax even further. Feel your thoughts becoming lighter, as though gravity itself is loosening its hold. Beyond the sleeping valley, beyond the fields of broken glass and memory, we will walk into a place where the dust grows thickest, where strange and delicate things might still endure in the deep folds of time. You leave the shadowed valley behind, your steps steady and unhurried, each movement stirring lazy clouds of grey that sparkle faintly in the starlight. The ground rises slowly before you, a broad swell of terrain that seems gentler, softer than the harsh, broken fields you crossed before. Here the dust is deeper, forming soft dunes that sigh against your boots, shaping the landscape into something almost organic. As you crest the low hill, you see them, strange formations half buried in the silt, rising and falling like the bones of forgotten forests. Pillars of translucent material, perhaps once living, perhaps mineral growths, reach crookedly from the ground, their surfaces veined with patterns so intricate they seem the work of careful hands. Some of these structures shimmer slightly as you move past them, their delicate filigree catching the meager light and casting intricate shadows that dance across the dunes. The air around you feels subtly different here, almost charged with the echo of something long departed, but not entirely gone. You pause beside one of the larger growths and place your gloved hand against it. Through the layers of your suit, you almost imagine you can feel a faint warmth, a memory of life lingering stubbornly against the encroaching cold. Deeper into the garden you wander, your path winding among the leaning spires and delicate bridges of crystal that arch from one half-buried trunk to another. Some structures have collapsed under the weight of time, their shards littering the ground like the petals of some immense, impossible flower. Others still stand proud, their bases wrapped in fine, curling tendrils of mineral strands that look almost like vines. In the dimness, the garden seems to breathe, expanding and contracting with your every step, a slow, silent rhythm in tune with the ancient pulse of the moon itself. You kneel beside one particularly intricate formation, a spiraled shell of layered quartz laced with veins of some unknown metal that glows faintly under the starlight. And for a moment, you feel an overwhelming sense of connection, as if the structure were not merely an object, but a living memory reaching out to you. Perhaps, long ago, this was a sanctuary, a place where something thrived, sheltered from the cruel winds of space. Perhaps, even now, traces of those lives persist in the dust, in the stones, in the very air that shimmers with unseen currents. Rising slowly, you continue on, your footprints weaving among the relics of this impossible grove. Above, the stars wheel silently across the heavens, their cold fires blinking slowly, patiently, as they have for uncountable ages. And still you walk, deeper and deeper into the garden beneath the dust, where memory and dream intertwine like roots in a forgotten soil, and the universe itself seems for a breathless moment to hold its breath and listen. Have you ever stood at the edge of a river and felt the slow pull of something ancient, something moving beneath the surface, older than language, older even than memory itself? Imagine now that river not made of water, but of dust. Fine, shimmering, endless dust, drifting with the slow patience of geological time across a forgotten lunar landscape. As you relax deeper into the sound of my voice, let the rush of ordinary life fall away entirely. Here, there are no clocks, no boundaries, no noise but the eternal whisper of drifting particles across forgotten stone. Feel your breath soften, your heartbeat settle into the slow cadence of timelessness, and walk with me now along these silent rivers that carry the dreams of moons no one remembers, through valleys untouched by light, beneath skies crowded with the brilliant frozen fires of ancient suns. Beyond the garden of mineral spires and frozen blooms, the terrain shifts again. It flattens and opens wide into an endless plain, so broad that the horizon seems to waver and vanish into the darkness beyond sight. This is the bed of the silent rivers, where countless centuries have shaped the dust into broad, flowing patterns that stretch for miles in elegant, winding curves. They mimic the pathways of water, but here there is no true liquid. Only the slow, inevitable migration of fine particles moving with such patience that you could watch for a lifetime and see only the slightest shift. Yet the rivers flow, sculpted by the ancient breath of vanished atmospheres, by tremors too soft for seismographs, by the delicate pull of invisible forces across the surface of the world. You walk slowly along the edge of one such river, your boots sinking slightly into the soft substrate. The dust clings to you, forming tiny dunes around your ankles with each step, as if the moon itself wishes to tether you gently to its surface. Above, the stars arc in slow, majestic procession, their light painting faint gleams across the flowing dust like ripples on a silver sea. Far in the distance, you glimpse strange formations rising from the rivers, clusters of dark stone twisted into improbable shapes resembling the ribs of long-dead leviathans resting half-buried in the ever-moving tide. There is a solemnity to this place, a reverence born of age and quiet motion, and you move through it as one would move through a cathedral, every step measured, every breath careful, so as not to disturb the sacred stillness that surrounds you. You follow the curve of the river for what feels like hours, or perhaps it is only minutes. Here, without any markers, time becomes as fluid as the dust itself. Occasionally, you pass through regions where the dust is finer, almost powdery, forming mirror-like surfaces that reflect the stars so perfectly you feel as though you are walking through the heavens themselves. Other times, the dust grows coarse, heavy with embedded shards of forgotten meteorites, and your steps crunch faintly, the sound muted almost to nothingness by the thick, shifting airlessness of this place. In one wide bend of the river, you discover what appears to be a collapsed structure, an ancient outpost perhaps, or the remains of some abandoned machine. Its skeletal framework rises awkwardly from the dust, beams and plates twisted into surreal, almost organic forms by countless impacts and the slow erosion of time. You approach cautiously, running your hand along the corroded surface, feeling the rough textures under your glove. Small glyphs are etched into the metal, their meanings long lost, their edges worn soft by the endless caress of drifting particles. As you stand there, a breeze, or the closest thing to a breeze this dead world can offer, stirs the dust around the wreckage, sending up swirling patterns that momentarily form shapes almost recognizable. The suggestion of wings, the curve of a face, the sweep of a forgotten banner. Then the shapes dissolve, returning to formlessness, as if the moon itself is sighing out its memories, only to reclaim them in the same breath. You linger for a long moment, feeling a bittersweet ache. Not sadness exactly, but a deep, wordless yearning. Before continuing your journey along the silent river, each step carrying you further into the dreamscape of drifting dust and endless patient time. Have you ever dreamed of finding a place so ancient that it has forgotten even itself? A place where the stones no longer remember the hands that shaped them, and the air carries no echo of names or songs. As you listen to my voice and feel the world around you dissolve into the soft, endless dark of the lunar plain, let yourself imagine stepping into such a place. Let the last clinging threads of earthly time and urgency slip from you. Here, there, are no clocks ticking behind your mind, no boundaries pressing against your thoughts, only the slow, inevitable drift of dust, the cold, endless light of distant suns, and the strange promise of forgotten towers rising at the very edge of the known. Breathe slowly. Feel yourself growing lighter, not just in body, but in spirit as we walk now toward those silent sentinels, standing alone where the rivers of dust meet the empty sky. The journey from the riverbeds toward the towers is long and dreamlike, the landscape flattening out into an immense expanse where distance becomes meaningless. You walk for what feels like both an eternity and no time at all, your path guided by the faint shimmer of the structures rising at the farthest edge of vision. They grow slowly as you approach, first as thin vertical smudges against the star-filled sky, then as impossibly slender spires that seem to have been spun from the very bones of the moon. These towers are not built in any style you recognize. They are too tall, too narrow, their forms twisted by eons of patient, merciless erosion until they resemble a forest of giant petrified reeds, frozen mid-sway by the sudden, absolute silence of a vanished world. As you come closer, the details emerge, surfaces etched with chaotic patterns like the growth rings of ancient trees, openings like mouths or windows placed seemingly at random, fine bridges of stone or crystal thread linking tower to tower in defiance of gravity and decay. The dust here lies thinner, scoured away by the slow winds of meteoric impacts, revealing patches of bare rock so polished by time that they gleam like black mirrors beneath your boots. The air inside your helmet feels thicker somehow, as if even the absence of atmosphere here holds weight, a pressing density of history and unspoken stories. You pass beneath an arch formed by two leaning towers, their peaks almost brushing one. Another 100 meters above, and in that moment the silence deepens, becomes tangible, a living thing wrapped close around you. This is a place that has not merely been abandoned. It has been forgotten even by forgetting itself, a memory so old that only the stones remember, and even they are losing their grip. Inside the shadow of the towers, the world changes once again. The temperature seems to drop, though your suit registers no difference. The light grows even dimmer, filtered through the strange, porous structures above. You wander through the spaces between the towers as if moving through the ruins of a cathedral built not by hands but by the slow, patient dreaming of the moon itself. Occasionally, you find remnants of what might have been deliberate design, a staircase spiraling up the side of a column, its steps worn to the suggestion of an upward path, a series of low, smooth stones arranged in spirals or circles, as if once there were gatherings here, ceremonies, or simply moments of shared existence now lost beyond recall. You reach one such circle and stand at its center, looking outward at the towering forest around you, and you feel something stir deep within. A sense of being witnessed, not by anything alive, but by the place itself. The dust shifts faintly at your feet, and for an instant you imagine you can see faint tracks, too large and oddly spaced to be human, leading off between the towers. Whether they are real or some trick of the imagination, you cannot say. You follow them anyway, drawn onward by a mixture of reverence and quiet longing. As you walk deeper, the towers grow denser, the paths narrower, until you feel almost enclosed, cradled in a labyrinth of stone and shadow. Overhead, thin strands of crystal bridge the gaps between towers, catching the faint starlight and refracting it into shifting patterns across the ground. It feels as if you are walking through a frozen web, spun across a forgotten dream, each step pulling you deeper into the endless, patient mystery of the place. And still the towers rise around you, silent and watching, bearing witness to your passing with a slow, unblinking grace that belongs to the stones, the stars, and the dust alone. Have you ever imagined that the universe, in its deepest, most ancient places, might still be singing, not in ways your ears could hear, but in vibrations older and deeper than sound itself? As you breathe slowly now, feeling the weight of silence all around you, let your mind unfurl into that vastness. Let yourself drift beyond the small, urgent concerns of waking life and step softly into a realm where the stones themselves hold songs that have no need for voices. Let your thoughts slow until they are no more than ripples across a still, dark lake. We have passed rivers of dust and forgotten gardens, crossed valleys where shadows sleep, and now, beyond the forgotten towers, we will walk into a place even. The dust itself seems reluctant to enter, a plain where invisible songs rise from the bedrock, a music not made for human senses, but meant to shape the dreams of moons. Beyond the labyrinth of leaning towers, the landscape falls away sharply. You stand for a long moment at the edge, looking down into what at first appears to be an immense basin carved into the moon's crust. But as your eyes adjust to the faint light, you realize it is not a natural depression. The ground here is patterned in vast, spiraling ridges and sweeping arcs like the frozen wake of some immense object that once passed this way. The dust grows thinner here, exposing vast plates of stone carved with patterns too enormous to comprehend from your vantage point. Lines 100 meters across spiral inward toward distant focal points, places where the stone itself rises into smooth, featureless monoliths, blacker than the sky and utterly still. The structures do not hum or glow, they simply exist, profound, immovable, and patient. You descend slowly, feeling a strange trembling through your boots as you move downward, a faint sensation, not enough to unsettle, but enough to remind you that something here is still awake in its own way. The plain stretches far beyond sight, vanishing into a haze where the stars blur into the horizon. Above you, the great spiral arms of galaxies you cannot name curve faintly across the void, and you feel with a quiet certainty that you are no longer merely walking across a forgotten moon. You are moving across something much older, something built not with tools, but with intention woven directly into the bones of the world itself. At the basin floor, the feeling of presence deepens. The monoliths, scattered at precise intervals, seem to drink in light, leaving no reflection, no glint, only the deepest possible black. You approach one cautiously, your every step slow and respectful, as if entering a great and ancient temple. When you are near enough to touch it, you raise your hand and pause, sensing something. Not a sound, not a vibration, but a kind of pressure, like a deep, wordless chord thrumming just beyond perception. You press your glove against the stone, and for a moment, you are overwhelmed by a flood of sensations. Images, feelings, fragments of impressions so vast and alien that your mind can barely grasp them. You see endless fields of moons stretching out like seeds across the cosmos. You feel the slow breath of dying stars. You hear the silence of things so ancient they have forgotten themselves. You pull your hand away, staggering slightly, and the sensations fade like mist under a rising sun, leaving you gasping in the thin stillness. Around you, the basin remains silent and motionless, but you know now that silence does not mean absence. The stones are singing, always singing, not for ears, but for the fabric of space and time itself. They are tuning the void, shaping the paths along which dreams and matter alike must flow. You walk onward, weaving between the monoliths, each one radiating its own deep, patient music that you feel more in your bones than your mind. You are not a trespasser here. You are a witness, a fleeting consciousness brushing against the slow, enduring memory of the cosmos itself. And as you walk, the dust rises gently around your feet, swirling in delicate patterns, as if dancing to the ancient, silent song that will outlast stars and galaxies alike. Have you ever wondered what happens to light that travels for eons across empty space? Light from stars long dead, from worlds that crumbled into silence, when it finally finds no place left to go. Could it settle somewhere, sink slowly into the bones of ancient moons, nestling in the deep and hollow places where even time forgets to look? As you relax, deeper still, listening to my voice like a steady current, carrying you farther from the shores of ordinary life, imagine now descending into those hidden places. Imagine leaving behind even the singing stones of the Great Basin and slipping into tunnels carved not by hands, but by the patient breathing of a world dreaming beneath its dusty shell. Feel your steps grow lighter, your senses sharper in the hush, as we journey now into the caverns where the forgotten light of the universe gathers, waiting without urgency, sleeping without dream. Beyond the singing stones, the plain slopes. Downward again, narrowing into a series of fissures, deep, jagged cracks that slice through the crust like the scars of forgotten violence. At first, the gaps seem too narrow to pass through, but as you walk closer, one opens before you, wide enough for a single traveler to enter. You hesitate, feeling the weight of the moment, the boundary between the open, starlit expanse and the dark unknown below. Then with a slow breath, you step forward into the narrow throat of stone. The temperature drops perceptibly, and the faint light from the stars above shrinks into a distant gleam. Your suit's lights activate automatically, casting a soft glow across the jagged walls. The stone here is different, darker, richer in minerals, flecked with strange iridescent veins that shimmer faintly even without illumination. You run your hand along the rough surface as you descend, feeling the history embedded in the walls. The long, slow folding of matter, the silent shaping of ages beyond counting. The path winds downward, spiraling gently as though drawn by the gravitational pull of something deep below. Around you, the tunnel breathes in a way you cannot explain. A slow expansion and contraction of space that is not movement, but something subtler. The living memory of the rock itself responding to your passage. You follow the spiral deeper, feeling your thoughts stretch and thin until they are no more than filaments weaving through the dark, glinting veins of the ancient moon. At last, the tunnel opens into a vast cavern, and you step out into a space so immense that your light barely touches the walls. Above you, the ceiling rises into darkness, and below, the floor is a lake, not of water, but of dust so fine, so perfectly undisturbed, that it mirrors the faint glimmering of unseen minerals embedded in the rock. The air is absolutely still, and every sound you make seems swallowed before it can truly form. You step forward carefully, your weight sinking just slightly into the surface, sending delicate ripples across the dust lake. As you move, you notice something strange. The dust glows faintly where your footfalls disturb it, trails of soft bioluminescence blooming in your wake like phosphorescent wakes behind a ship at sea. It is not bright enough to truly light your way, but it is enough to suggest paths, gentle, curving traces that seem to respond not only to your movements, but to your thoughts, anticipating your next step with ghostly tendrils of light. You follow these trails deeper into the cavern, and slowly, almost imperceptibly, the shapes of great structures emerge from the gloom. Vast pillars rising from the lake bed to the unseen ceiling, arching buttresses formed from translucent minerals that refract the faint glows into shimmering rainbows. You walk among them as though moving through a forest made of frozen moonlight. And as you wander, a realization dawns quietly within you. This place is not dead, it is not abandoned, it is dreaming. Dreaming in a way beyond life and death, a dreaming so deep that it has become part of the fabric of the stone, the dust, and the sleeping light itself. You are not just a visitor here, you are a note in a long, slow song, a ripple across a timeless sea, a brief flicker of consciousness touching something vast and kind and infinitely patient. And as you walk further into the cavern, following the soft trails of glowing dust, you feel yourself slipping deeper into that ancient dream, carried not by fear or loneliness, but by a profound, wordless belonging that ties you not to earth, or time or memory, but to the endless sleeping heart of the stars themselves. Have you ever wondered what remains when even memory fades? When the last starlight cools into darkness, and the last thought dissolves into the stillness of the infinite. As you drift even deeper into this journey, let my voice carry you to a place where light itself has long since fallen asleep, where sound is not needed because every stone, every grain of dust remembers more perfectly than language ever could. Relax further now as though you are stepping not through space but through layers of forgotten dreams. There are no maps here, no boundaries. Only the slow, patient unfolding of time beyond time. Tonight, you and I will walk together into the echoes that lie beyond light, the soft resonances that persist when everything else has been surrendered to silence. Feel the last vestiges of urgency leave you. Feel yourself becoming as light and untethered as the lunar dust, carried forward only by wonder and the ancient pull of unseen shores. beyond the great cavern where sleeping light curls through dust. Like the slow breath of a dreaming titan, the world narrows again. You move through corridors of smooth stone, so polished by eons of slow, imperceptible movements that they shine faintly even without illumination. Your own reflection stares back at you in distorted forms. Not frightening, but strangely beautiful, as if you are glimpsing not yourself as you are now, but as you once were, or as you might yet become, stretched across the long arcs of possible futures. The tunnel curves endlessly downward, spiraling tighter with each turn, and though the walls seem to close in, you feel no fear. Only a deepening sense of reverence, of being guided somewhere sacred and secret, somewhere built not for survival or habitation, but for remembrance. Occasionally, the stone opens into small alcoves, shallow bowls carved into the walls, each one cradling something ancient. Fragments of strange crystalline artifacts, pieces of long-faded inscriptions, structures, so delicate they seem woven from strands of frozen breath. You do not touch them. You merely pass, offering silent respect to these relics of unknown beings who once shaped dreams into form and cast them across moons, forgotten even by history. As you move further downward, the air itself seems to change. Not heavier, for there is no true air here, but denser in meaning, saturated with layers of silent, sleeping thought. You feel it in your bones, a slow vibration like the resonance of deep bells long after they have fallen silent, a calling that is not a sound, but a knowing. You are nearing the place where echoes are born, where the last remnants of ancient voices gather and weave themselves into the fabric of the void. At last, the spiral ends, and you emerge into a space so vast it defies comprehension. You stand at the edge of a great hollow, an inverted mountain carved deep into the moon's heart. The walls rise around you like the ribs of some impossibly ancient creature, layered with bands of minerals that shimmer faintly in unseen light. The floor far below is invisible, lost in a darkness so profound it seems almost liquid. Above you, the roof arches upward into infinity, its highest reaches hidden beyond sight. And floating throughout the hollow, suspended in slow, graceful motion, are structures unlike anything you have ever seen. They are vast and delicate, woven from strands of mineral and frozen energy, forming patterns that pulse with a life too slow for the eye to catch. Lattices of thought, vast and incomplete, hanging in the void like constellations waiting for new stars. You step forward carefully, feeling the ground shift beneath you, not unstable but responsive, as though the very moon cradles each of your movements. Your suit's lights dim automatically, recognizing the need for darkness here. And you are left, bathed in the faint bioluminescence of the sleeping structures. As you walk, you begin to hear it, not with your ears, but with the deeper parts of your mind. A music formed of memory and resonance, threads of ancient meaning woven into a tapestry too vast to fully comprehend. The structures hum and pulse with fragments of stories, not spoken in any language you know, but understood nonetheless. Tales of worlds born and crumbled, of civilizations that dreamed themselves into being and then faded back into silence, of the long, slow dance of dust and starfire across the endless seas of space. You realize with a profound and aching humility that you are walking through the echoes of existence itself, through the last persistent dreams of all that has ever been. And in this place, far beyond light, beyond time, beyond memory, you feel no fear, only belonging, only peace, only the infinite, endless drift of being itself, carried softly on the silent music of forgotten moons. Have you ever paused to wonder if beneath all the movement of the universe, the rushing galaxies, the spiraling stars, the trembling of planets, there lies a deeper layer, a stillness so profound that it supports the motion of everything, else without ever moving itself? Tonight, as you listen to my voice and surrender to the slow pull of the journey, let yourself imagine stepping through the final veil of silence into the bedrock stillness that underpins existence. Here, there is no need for speech, no need for action. Here, you are cradled by the same deep, slow breath that the first atoms must have known. Let each thought dissolve like mist. Let each heartbeat sink with something infinitely older than time. You are no longer merely walking across forgotten moons. You are walking across the untouched substrate of being itself, carried on currents too patient for millennia to measure. Come now, walk deeper with me into the stillness beneath all worlds, the great hollow where echoes hang like sleeping constellations fades behind you, swallowed once more by the curving tunnels of ancient stone. The path now is different, no longer spiraling downward, but stretching outward, as though following veins of hidden gravity across the moon's unseen heart. The walls grow smoother still, almost translucent, and a faint internal glow emanates from within them. Not bright, but steady, pulsing in slow rhythms that feel aligned with the deep structure of yourself. You walk onward, your steps soundless, in the thick dust, following the gentle curve of the tunnel as it carries you ever forward into deeper and quieter realms. Occasionally, you pass great vaults opening on either side, vast empty chambers where slow rivers of dust drift in eddies, too large to fully grasp. In some, towering monoliths stand like solitary sentinels, their surfaces alive with intricate, shifting symbols that seem to recognize your presence but do not demand anything of you. You pass them in silence, feeling the respectful acknowledgement of one brief consciousness passing among older, vaster ones. The further you walk, the more the world simplifies. Fewer structures, fewer patterns, until eventually even the tunnels themselves become smooth, organic curves in the stone, as if you are moving through the carved memory of motion itself, preserved forever beneath layers of silence. And all the while, the stillness grows deeper, enfolding you, not heavy or suffocating, but limitless, like stepping into the quiet heartbeat of the universe. At last, the tunnel ends, and you step into the final chamber. It is neither vast nor small, neither light nor dark. It simply is. A perfectly spherical space, its walls composed of stone so ancient, so compressed by the slow crushing of countless eras that it feels not like something made of matter, but something condensed from pure time. In the center of the chamber, there is nothing. No monuments, no relics, no structures at all. Only an expanse of the purest dust, so fine it blurs the boundary between ground and air, forming a soft, living mist that swirls faintly with the movements of your breath and thought. You stand there for a long time, unmoving, simply existing within the stillness. And as you do, a realization unfurls within you, not like a sudden epiphany, but like the slow blooming of a flower that has waited an entire age to open. You realize that this place is not a destination. It is not a vault of memories or a shrine to lost civilizations. It is the point of origin, the place from which dreams flow outward into the waking world, where the first longing for life once stirred in the dust and sang itself into stars and seas and hearts. And it still does. You feel it in the shifting mist at your feet, in the faint pulse in the walls, in the slow currents brushing against your mind. This is where all stories begin and end, not in words, but in the deep, wordless yearning of existence itself, to know and be known, to see and be seen. You kneel there, not in worship, but in understanding, and for a timeless while you simply breathe with the universe. You are no longer a visitor, no longer even a walker. You are a single note in the endless song of the cosmos, a ripple upon the surface of the great, still sea beneath all worlds. And in this stillness, you are home. Have you ever imagined a place where time itself is no longer a river, but a field, a wide, endless meadow where all moments drift like seeds on a silent wind, settling wherever they will? A place where past, present, and future grow not in straight lines, but in sprawling constellations of memory and dream. As you listen to my voice, as steady and slow as the deep orbit of forgotten moons, allow yourself to float into that vision. Let the structures of ordinary thought loosen and drift away. In this place, you are not bound by the ticking of clocks or the weight of days. Here, you are simply part of the vast, slow blooming of existence. Step lightly with me now into the fields where time gathers, where each footprint you leave stirs not just dust, but echoes of lives long past and yet to come. Beyond the stillness chamber, a new kind of space opens before you. You step through a narrow threshold, so narrow you feel yourself squeezed through it, as if being reborn into a realm slightly sideways from the one you knew. What lies beyond is almost impossible to describe, a landscape that defies geometry, where distance bends and twists, where the horizons fold inward like the petals of an endless flower. The ground beneath your feet is soft and luminous, a silken dust that seems to glow from within, casting a gentle radiance that reveals shapes drifting in and out of solidity. In some places you see towering arches formed from braided strands of light. In others, shallow basins filled with liquid mirrors that reflect skies no longer overhead. You move carefully, but with a sense of inevitability, following pathways that seem to weave themselves before you as you walk. Sometimes you catch glimpses out of the corner of your eye, figures moving just beyond the edge of awareness, buildings that shimmer into existence and then fade like morning mist, fragments of music that stir emotions you have no words for. It is not frightening. It is beautiful, unbearably so, a reminder that the universe is not a machine grinding forward, but a vast living memory, folding and unfolding itself endlessly in patterns too intricate to ever fully perceive. The fields stretch out in all directions, rolling gently like the slow breathing of the moon beneath your feet, and you realize that each step you take is weaving you into the tapestry. A new thread, a new echo, to join the countless others that drift and settle here like seeds on an infinite wind. You walk for what could be minutes or millennia. Here, the difference matters little until you come to a place where the fields deepen into a great hollow. In the center of the hollow stands a single tree, vast and ancient beyond comprehension, though its substance is not wood or stone, but a lattice of memories and starlight woven into a living form. Its roots spread through the dust, glowing faintly, with pulses of forgotten time, while its branches reach upward and outward, endlessly splitting and twisting, each tipped with a soft bloom of crystallized moments. You approach with reverence, feeling the weight of all that has been and all that will be humming through the air. Beneath the tree, a pool of perfectly still dust mirrors its form, as if the tree grows both upward and downward into two worlds at once. You kneel at the edge of the pool and gaze into it, and there, reflected not just in image but in meaning, you see fragments of your own life, not as a sequence, but as a constellation, a field of moments floating in slow, luminous dance. Childhood laughter, the heavy silence of partings, the first tentative steps into unknown dreams, 1,000 tiny joys, 1,000 quiet griefs, all drifting and glowing like the dust around you. You reach out, not to grasp, but to honor. And as your fingers brush the surface of the dust, the entire field around you seems to sigh, a single breath shared across endless generations of being. And in that sigh, you feel the profound truth. Nothing is ever truly lost. Every step, every heartbeat, every whispered word folds itself into the fields, settles into the great, quiet breathing of time, and becomes part of the endless, shimmering whole. You rise slowly, feeling lighter than you have ever felt before, not because you have left yourself behind, but because you have finally seen how deeply you are woven into everything that ever was and ever will be. And as you walk away from the great tree, back into the folding horizons of the field, you carry with you not memories, not burdens, but the gentle, unbreakable thread of belonging that ties you forever to the sleeping dust, the distant stars, and the soft, patient memory of forgotten moons. Have you ever imagined standing at the edge of everything, not the edge of space or time, but the edge of all that has ever been thought, dreamed, remembered? A shoreline where the tides are made of possibility itself, where the soft mist, rising from unseen depths, carries not water, but futures unborn, songs unsung, stories unwritten. As you listen to my voice, let yourself drift to that boundary. Let the familiar shapes of memory and certainty dissolve into the soft radiance ahead. Here, beyond the fields where time gathers, lies a frontier not marked by borders or barriers, but by invitation to an open horizon where the dust gives way to what has not yet become. Tonight, step with me onto the shores of the unwritten. Feel the gentle tug of new dreams stirring in the silence, and let yourself be carried a little further into the great, patient unfolding of the universe. The journey to the shores is unlike any path you have taken before. There are no landmarks, no tunnels or arches or crystalline trees. There is only a gradual thinning of form and structure, a gentle loosening of the fields of time, until all around you the landscape grows lighter, more transparent, as if the very dust itself is beginning to dream. Shapes drift at the edges of perception. Fragments of cities not yet built, faces not yet born, songs whose melodies are still weaving themselves into being. The ground beneath your feet becomes a luminous mist, supporting you not with solidity, but with a kind of faith, a knowing that even in formlessness, you are held. Above you, the stars shift subtly, becoming less fixed, more like swirling blossoms of potential, each one a seed of a universe waiting to unfold. You walk slowly, reverently, each step sending ripples through the mist that shimmer with colors no eye has ever seen. Occasionally, you catch glimpses of possibilities, a vast library filled with books whose pages are still blank, but humming with anticipation, a bridge stretching across a sky of molten gold, a garden where each leaf sings a different history. None of these visions are solid. They are invitations waiting for choice, for intention, for the gentle touch of consciousness to call them into form. You realize with a slow, profound clarity that you are no longer merely witnessing the memory of existence, You are now walking in the womb of all futures, a space where every step you take is a step toward creation, where every breath is a new beginning whispered into the deep stillness. At last the mist parts and you find yourself standing at the true shoreline, an endless expanse of shimmering darkness, not empty, but alive with quiet motion. It is a sea of unformed being, where the currents are made of potential itself, swirling and folding back upon themselves in patterns too vast and intricate for any mind to fully grasp. The ground beneath you ends here, not abruptly, but gently, like the fading of a song into silence. You stand for a long time at the water's edge, if it can be called water, feeling the pull of the tides in your bones, the ancient longing to step forward and weave yourself into the ever-becoming. And yet you are not hurried. Here there is no urgency, no fear of missing or losing anything. Here all things are patient. You kneel and touch the surface, and for an instant you feel every possibility that could ever be. 1,000 lives lived in parallel, 1,000 songs rising and falling, 1,000 worlds blooming and fading like waves against the infinite shore. You feel yourself stretched across time and space, not lost but expanded, woven into the very substance of the unwritten. And in that vastness you understand, creation is not something separate from you. It is not something you do. It is something you are. Every breath you take, every choice you make, every fleeting dream that passes through your mind is a ripple in this great, silent ocean, shaping realities yet to be born. You rise slowly, feeling the mist swirl around you, carrying the echoes of your being outward into the waiting vastness. And as you step back from the shoreline, returning toward the sleeping fields, you carry with you not just memory, not just dream, but the living seed of infinite futures, cradled gently within your silent, drifting heart. Have you ever wondered if perhaps the universe itself dreams, and that we, our lives, our hopes and fears, are soft echoes within that endless slumber? Tonight, as we come to the final stretch of our journey, let my voice guide you one last time across the drifting silence. Let everything fall away, memory, expectation, even the gentle weight of wonder. There is no more searching needed, no more distance to cross. We have walked across fields of dust and dreams. We have drifted through the gardens of frozen light and the sleeping songs of ancient stones. Now, at the edge of all thought, all possibility, we will let ourselves simply drift, carried by the slow, patient breath of the cosmos itself. There is no destination now, only presence. Only the quiet unfolding of one last beautiful moment, stretching endlessly across the sea of stars. You walk away from the misty shoreline of the unwritten, your body lighter than it has ever been, almost weightless in the soft gravity of this final realm. The ground beneath your feet fades into silver mist, and then even the mist dissolves, leaving you walking across a sky of sleeping light. All around you, the stars no longer shine as distant points. They are soft and close, like drifting lanterns in a deep river. Some pulse gently with colors too rich for names, others simply float, silent witnesses to your slow passage. There are no landmarks here, no directions. Time itself has settled into a quiet lake, rippling only faintly with your breathing. You realize after a while that you are no longer walking. You are drifting, cradled by invisible currents that guide you ever deeper into the heart of the silence. And you are not alone. Though you see no figures, you feel the presence of countless others. Not in bodies, but in impressions. Soft brushings against your awareness, like feathers against water. Souls, perhaps, memories, dreams, all drifting together in the vast communion of the final night. Somewhere far beneath you, or above you, or within you, a deep resonance hums, the slow chord of all being, vibrating softly through your bones. You surrender to it, letting go of the last remnants of striving, of identity, of separation. Here there is only oneness. Here there is only the endless, gentle drift into perfect stillness. And so we reach the end, not with a closing, but with an opening so wide and soft that it swallows every boundary. You feel yourself dissolve into the vastness, not lost, but home. You are the dust curling through ancient craters. You are the soft songs sung by the stones. You are the rivers of possibility flowing through the sleeping fields of time. You are the breath of forgotten moons and the slow, patient dreams of unborn worlds. And as the final ripples of sound fade away, as the last currents of drifting starlight fold gently around you, I want to thank you. Thank you for walking this long, slow journey with me. Thank you for trusting the silence, for listening to the voice of ancient dust and patient stars. As you drift now into your own quiet night, know that you carry within you all the beauty, all the wonder, all the infinite softness of the cosmos itself. Sleep deeply, traveler among forgotten moons. Sleep in the cradle of endless stars. Sleep and dream, and drift forever through the beautiful, eternal silence. Thank you for joining me on this journey. Sleep well, and may your dreams be filled with the softest light of 1,000 forgotten moons. Good night.